I can still see the exact moment everything changed. The way her fingers trembled around her coffee cup. The faint sound of the spoon clinking against porcelain. We were sitting in the corner booth of that small cafe we used to call ours. It was supposed to be just another quiet Sunday morning. She'd ordered her usual caramel latte, extra foam, while I teased her about always being late. Everything felt familiar until her eyes met mine. There was a kind of distance in them that I'd never seen before. "Ethan, there's something I never told you," she said. Her voice so fragile I almost leaned in to catch it. For a moment I thought it was something small. A story from her past. A bad decision. Something we'd laugh about later. But then she took a deep breath. Her lips trembling as she whispered, "I have a child." It felt like the world stopped spinning. The sounds of the cafe, the chatter, the hum of the espresso machine, even the music, all faded into static. I just stared at her, trying to process what she'd said. A child? What did she mean she had a child? My chest tightened as 1,000 questions fought their way up my throat. Who's the father? How old? Why didn't you tell me? She didn't look ashamed. That was the part that unsettled me most. There was no fear, no apology in her expression. Only a strange calmness, almost relief. Like she'd finally set down a burden she'd been carrying alone. "I wanted to tell you sooner," she said softly, her eyes darting away from mine. "But I didn't know how. I didn't want to lose you." Lose me? My mind was spiraling. Everything I thought I knew about her. Every moment, every promise. Suddenly felt like a half-truth. I tried to speak, but all that came out was silence. She reached for my hand, but I couldn't move. It was like the air between us had turned into glass. Fragile, cold, and impossible to break through, and then, as if sensing the storm inside me, she whispered, "I'll explain everything tomorrow." But deep down, something in me already knew. Tomorrow would never come. The next few hours after her confession felt like a haze I couldn't escape. We stayed in that cafe long after the sun dipped below the horizon, her words hanging in the air like smoke I couldn't breathe through. She kept talking, giving me pieces of a story that never quite fit together. She said it happened before we met, that the father was someone from her past, someone she wanted to forget. She told me she'd been scared to lose me, scared that I'd see her differently if I knew. At first, I wanted to believe her. I wanted so badly for the story to make sense, for the woman I loved to still be the person I thought she was. But the more she spoke, the more her story unraveled. The dates overlapped in ways that didn't add up. She mentioned being in another city during a time I knew she was still here, and when I gently pointed that out, she brushed it off with a nervous laugh, saying I must be misremembering. Then I asked her the one question I couldn't ignore. "Do you have a picture of your child?" For the briefest moment, her expression cracked. Just a flicker, but I saw it. Her eyes darted to the side, her lips parted as if searching for the right answer. She fumbled with her phone, scrolling, stalling, before finally showing me a photo of a toddler. But something about it felt wrong. The image was grainy, the background unfamiliar, the date on the screen cropped out. Something inside me shifted then. The blind trust I'd always given her began to crumble. Every time she smiled, I found myself wondering if it was forced. Every time she touched my hand, I questioned if it was guilt or affection behind her eyes. As we walked out of the cafe, she squeezed my arm and whispered, "I'll explain everything tomorrow. Just give me one more day." Her words should have comforted me, but instead, they haunted me. There was a finality in her tone, like someone closing a door they never planned to open again. That night, I lay awake replaying every second, every inconsistency, every hesitation. By morning, I realized something chilling. Tomorrow would never come. The morning after her promise to explain everything, I woke up to silence. No message, no missed calls, nothing. At first I thought maybe she needed space. Maybe she was just gathering her thoughts. But by noon, when she still hadn't replied, the pit in my stomach began to grow. I called her. Once, twice, then a dozen times. Each call went straight to voicemail. That same robotic voice repeating what I already feared. "The number you are trying to reach is currently unavailable." Her apartment, usually buzzing with life and her favorite scent of vanilla candles, was eerily empty. The curtains were gone, drawers cleaned out, and the fridge, the same one filled with her favorite snacks, stood bare. It was like she'd vanished overnight. I knocked on her neighbor's door, hoping for answers. The old lady next door said she saw movers late last night, loading boxes into a small gray van. She seemed in a hurry, she added, frowning. Didn't even say goodbye. That wasn't like her at all. Panic turned to obsession. I called her friends. Most didn't pick up, and the few who did said they hadn't heard from her in days. When I reached her coworker, he told me she'd quit her job a week earlier without notice. Her mother's voice on the other end of the line was cold and clipped. If she wanted you to find her, she would have told you. Then she hung up. Days turned into weeks, and my world felt heavier with every unanswered question. I stopped sleeping properly. Her absence wasn't quiet. It was loud, echoing in every corner of my life. I'd catch myself thinking I saw her in crowds, chasing the outline of a face that always disappeared the moment I blinked. Her belongings haunted me. A sweater she left on my couch, still carrying her faint perfume. A playlist on my phone labeled "For Rainy Days," the one she made for me. Every time a familiar song played, I could almost hear her humming softly next to me. Then, just when I thought I'd begun to accept that she was gone, I got the message. It came late one night, just after midnight. My phone buzzed once, the glow of the screen cutting through the darkness. Unknown number. The message was short. Stop looking for her. It's better this way. My hands went cold. I stared at the words for a long time, my mind spinning. Who sent it? How did they know I was still searching? I tried replying, but the message wouldn't deliver. The number was disconnected within minutes. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at her empty side of the bed. It hit me then, she didn't just leave. Someone didn't want her to be found, and for the first time, I wondered if she'd ever been safe to begin with. 2 months had passed since she disappeared, and though I told myself I was learning to move on, the truth was different. Every unknown number made my heart race. Every knock at the door made me hope, or fear, that it might be her. Life had become a quiet kind of limbo, where the days blurred together, and her absence became an ache I carried like a shadow. Then one cold evening, just as I was locking up for the night, I heard it. 3 deliberate knocks on my apartment door. I hesitated before opening it, my chest tightening. On the other side stood a man, maybe mid-30s, with tired eyes and a cautious expression. "You're Ethan?" he asked, voice low, uncertain. "We need to talk. It's about her." My pulse spiked instantly. No one had said her name in weeks. The man introduced himself as Daniel, and there was something unsettlingly familiar in the way he spoke. The same mix of confusion, longing, and quiet anger I'd been living with. He didn't waste time. He told me that he dated her 2 years before I did, that she'd told him almost the exact same story. A hidden child, a painful past, a promise to explain everything tomorrow. And just like with me, she vanished before that tomorrow ever came. At first, I thought he was mistaken. Maybe it was someone else, someone who just looked like her. But then he showed me photos, texts, even a voice message. Her laugh, her tone, her favorite phrases, they were all the same. There was no denying it. We were both part of the same cruel pattern. Daniel said he'd spent months trying to track her down. He'd found nothing, until he came across a trail of men online describing similar stories. Different cities, different names, but always the same woman. She'd appear, confess something shocking, gain sympathy, then vanish without a trace. As he spoke, I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Everything I thought I knew about her, her kindness, her honesty, her love, began to twist into something darker. Before Daniel left, he looked at me and said quietly, "She's not who you think she is, but if you're smart, you'll stop looking." That night, I didn't sleep, because deep down, I knew I wasn't ready to stop. Daniel and I became unlikely partners in a search that bordered on obsession. Every evening after work, we'd sit in his cluttered apartment surrounded by coffee cups, printouts, and photos of her, trying to piece together the puzzle of a woman who seemed to rewrite her life every few years. We started with the obvious: hospitals, schools, and old addresses. But there was no birth certificate, no school record, No trace of a child anywhere. It was as if the child she told us about had never existed. What we did find, though, was far stranger. Through fragments of online data and old social media accounts, we uncovered at least 3 different identities. Same face, different names. In each life, she'd been with someone new. A new city, a new job, a new version of her story. And in every one of them, there was always a confession. Something shocking. Something that pulled people in deeper. Followed by an abrupt disappearance. Daniel tracked down 2 of the other men. One was still bitter. The other refused to even talk about her. "She ruined me," he said before hanging up. The more we uncovered, the more it felt like we were chasing a ghost that didn't want to be found. Late one night, while scrolling through an old backup of her messages, something strange caught my eye. A photo she'd sent me months ago. It looked harmless at first. A picture of her hospital wristband after she claimed she was in for tests. But when I zoomed in, I froze. The last name printed on the band wasn't hers. It was mine. My stomach turned. I had never been to that hospital, never given her my information, never authorized anything like that. Why was my name there? Had she used my details? Or was she trying to send a message I didn't understand? Daniel leaned over my shoulder, equally stunned. "This isn't random," he said. "She wanted you to find this." That realization chilled me. Maybe the child never existed. Maybe the lies weren't meant to protect her, but to test me. To see how far I'd follow her down this trail of half-truths. And the worst part? I wasn't sure if I wanted to stop anymore. It had been weeks since Daniel and I last spoke. The search had drained us both, leaving more questions than answers and no proof of who she really was. I'd tried to move on, deleted old messages, boxed up her things, even changed my number. But no matter how much I tried to bury her memory, she still found ways to surface, in dreams, in songs, in the quiet moments before sleep when my mind wouldn't stop asking why. Then, one night, at exactly 12:04 a.m., my phone lit up. An unknown number. My heart stuttered. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, convincing myself it was just another spam call. But something deep inside, something instinctive, made me answer. "Ethan." Her voice. That same soft tone, fragile yet hauntingly familiar. I froze, breath caught in my throat. It was her. After months of silence, it was really her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I could hear the quiver in her breath, the faint sound of wind or maybe traffic in the background. "I didn't mean to drag you into this. I thought I could fix it before it got worse." I tried to speak, to ask where she was, but she kept talking. Words tumbling out between shaky breaths. "He's not safe, Ethan. None of us are. You have to stop searching. Promise me." My chest tightened. "Who's not safe? Who's he?" I asked, desperate for clarity. There was a long pause, then a whisper, barely audible. "You don't understand. He finds people like us." Before I could say another word, the line went dead. I stared at the phone in disbelief, listening to the empty hum of the disconnected call. I tried calling back, again and again, but the number no longer existed. Just like before, that night, sleep was impossible. I replayed every word she'd said, every sound in the background. Was she hiding, running, or was this just another layer of her twisted game? And who was he? Daniel didn't answer my messages for days. When he finally did, his response was short. "Don't contact me again. I'm done." A week later, I saw a news report online. An unidentified woman found near the outskirts of a nearby town. Same hair color, same build. No ID. My heart pounded as I zoomed in on the blurry image, but I couldn't be sure. That was a year ago. I never found out if it was her. Sometimes, I still wonder if the child she mentioned ever existed, or if I was just another character in the stories she told to keep herself hidden. But every few months, just past midnight, I get that same message from an untraceable number. Stop looking for her. And each time, I can't help but think, someone out there still is, or maybe she's the one watching me now.